your opinion, is there an explanation for the increased use of antidepressant and sleeping aids use today? Seems to be.
Well, I think it's probably it probably has more than one reason. The two that I can think about is that I would expect that there is more depression, and that reflects the state of the world. I mean, certainly, for example, in the United States, the country is not what it was when I came there in 1967. When there was kind of excitement and optimism about the American dreams and what you can do with your life, what you can have. And now there is, economic crisis. There is kind of disappointment with the kind of image that United States now has after, attacking Iraq and so on. And if you talk to young people, they really don't have great perspectives, and people have lost a lot of money, and so it's a general disappointment. And looking at the whole world, I mean, from the ecological disasters that we are creating, to the kind of increase of violence, the danger of potential confrontation between Islam and Christianity, and so it doesn't present a very nice picture. So I wouldn't be surprised if just simply the amount of depression is increasing. But then also the power of the pharmaceutical companies. They are really dominating the market. They have powerful lobbyists, and there is certainly in everyday practice there is a shift in psychiatry from psychological and psychotherapeutic attention given to patients to shifting to a kind of almost mindless routine where all you are doing, you are finding ways of suppressing symptoms. And
I wanted to ask you, do you think
most
of it is suppressing symptoms?
Yeah. Well, suppressing symptoms, it's a very, very interesting question, I mean, psychiatry is a subdiscipline of medicine, developed as a subdiscipline of medicine. And if you look at medicine, where symptomatic treatment is used, you use it in two situations. One is when you also simultaneously use what's called etiological therapy. You address the causes. And then if you still want to alleviate symptoms, you use symptomatic therapy. Or you use symptomatic therapy in incurable diseases, when it's the only thing you can do is you relieve the suffering, you reduce somehow the symptoms. In medicine, it would not be great practice to focus on symptoms, and be satisfied with suppressing symptoms. For example, bringing somebody with high fever, and you would say, well, we'll put him on ice, and the temperature goes down, and you would be very satisfied that you have done. You want to know why the fever is there, and then you have to, properly identify the problem, and then, you find out what you have to do. Do you have to do something with the abscess that the person have, or do you use antibiotics, and what kind of antibiotics? And then you can use, some additional symptomatic treatment, but it would not be enough just to focus on symptoms. And the problem in the current psychiatry is that there is a pretty one-sided focus on symptoms, and it's reducing symptoms. It's confused with healing or with therapy. So if you look at, let's say, the record from a patient who is hospitalized, you say, improved today, much less aggressive, more docile, which is exactly the opposite of what we see working with the breath work, for example, where the healing actually has, in many instances, two stages. One is actually activation, intensification of the problem that you have. Let's say, if somebody is carrying a lot of aggression, you see the aggression emerging, so temporarily it becomes more intense. But you support people, you help them to express it, and then there's, is the source of the aggression.
It's
It's
like
really
homeopathic
yeah.
treatment.
It's really
view
homeopathic.
of it,
Yeah.
you know, like increase
Yes.
whatever is going there, whatever is happening. No?
Well, in homeopathy, the idea is that if you have symptoms, it's the expression of the organism's defense. The organism is trying to heal itself. And in translated into psychology, it would be if you see symptoms, the organism is trying to get rid of some traumatic imprints from the past. It's something that you want to support. You don't want to, you don't want to suppress it. Now, in homeopathy, it's much more complicated. What the homeopaths do, they do what's called proofing. They give sort of different substances, which could be botanical, which could be animal, which could be mineral in nature, to quote-unquote healthy people, and then see what they do. And then they end up with these remedies. And if you have a client, you try to find out what symptoms the person has, and then you're looking for a remedy that in healthy people would actually induce them, so you temporarily intensify that. Now, homeopathy is another problem, which is the fact that you do the series of dilutions and shaking until you end up with really no molecules. You just the energetic imprint, and that's source of a lot of hostility towards and criticism of homeopathy. But what you see in these states, which I call holotropic, which is a certain important subcategory of non-ordinary states, like the experiences that happen to shamans, or in ancient mysteries, or in Buddhist meditation, or Hindu meditation, Christian mystics, and so on. They function as a kind of universal homeopathic remedy, which means they intensify any symptoms that you carry, or they bring symptoms from latency into manifestations. So the holotropic breathwork is like a universal homeopathic remedy. It basically brings, for processing anything that's in your organism. So there is a kind of an interesting relationship between what is being done by many psychiatrists, and understandably, because they just simply don't have the time to deal with patients, so they just focus on suppressing the symptoms. And what happens in these experiential uncovering therapies, when you actually want to draw out the symptoms, intensify them, and then try to get to the underlying causes of that, which is, more time-consuming, but ultimately it really resolves the problem. It's not just what we call palliative, that it sort of, suppresses the symptoms. Yeah.